getting ready to put out, the Black Mozart, and I can set up a course, you know what I mean, that tells you the history of New World Symphonies, what New World Symphony is about. The guy who wrote the last New World Symphony, the major New World Symphony, was Dvorak. And Dvorak, behind his New World Symphony, was saying we have to listen to Negro melodies. He was telling classical music, we got to listen to Negro melodies. Man, I grew up, I was called Negro. I know what Negro melodies are. And everything that he said to classical music, popular music, has done it to the T. Look at the Beatles, right? What do they talk about? They talk about Negro melodies, Muddy Waters, all those people. Look at Bonnie Raitt. She talks about those blues artists. Look at anyone, Eminem, you know what I mean? They're hanging with a black tradition, spitting it out, keeping up. Look at Elvis. They said Elvis would get off his stage and sing spirituals from after the show to sunup. He wanted to do a gospel record, and the record company said, no, you are too hot. You're not getting ready to do religious music. You know what I mean? You're the hottest thing on the planet. No, but he loved that. If he had School Point O, he'd probably be sitting here like talking about Negro spirituals, man. That's what I love to do. They said Elvis, man, when they taught him to play the blues, he would practice the blues until his fingers bled. Elvis had this thing down. See what I'm saying? What I'm saying is the spirit that popular music went to it is the spirit that classical music maybe didn't go to what Dvorak was saying with the same spirit. When Dvorak said, you got to check out Negro melodies, because this is a time of nationalism in classical music where every nation around the world is trying to figure out their national identity of music. So Poland has the Poland sound, you know, Chopin. Russian has the Russian school. Stravinsky talks about I am Russian. My sound is Russian. The French school. America says, surely we can have our sound. They brought Dvorak, the most celebrated composer in the world, to come help us develop our national sound. He gets here and he hears the Negro spirituals, the Negro melody they call it. He says, you don't have to look any further because this is your national sound. Now think about that. Think about that, man. If President Obama or a president is going to do something, you're going to get the Queen of Soul to sing something that's going to tear your it's just gonna bring your soul to tears. You know what I mean? So this Negro melody thing is something that I can take to heart because I grew up with it. You know what I mean? I grew up with that sound in the churches. Look at the civil rights movement, all the great human rights movement. They always talk about the music is what kept us going. If we didn't have the music, we couldn't have done it. They said, yeah, we knew we were afraid. The bus was people getting killed and hung, but we just kept singing. We just kept singing. And see, now that's not a fact. That's Negro melody, but that's the force of music. See, what Dvorak is talking about, I lived it, man. I've seen what he's talking about. I've seen what it's done in popular music, you know? I've seen what it's done as it expresses itself through jazz, and jazz changes the world. Jazz just changes the world. It liberates. All dictators are afraid of jazz, right? It was a whole movement. Ravel said, I utilize the language of jazz in my music, right? So to understand that, they were calling it Negro melody, and they were appreciating the Negro of the time who's being ostracized by society. So their message wasn't greeted by critics too happy. And what I'm saying is, when classical music grasped this message the same way popular music has grasped it, it will be popular like that again. You know what I mean? And so in my New World Symphony, I have that message, man. I live that message, man. I grew up with James Brown. I grew up with Curtis Mayfield. I grew up with the Negro spirituals, man. I know what the melodies do. You know, the civil rights movement, there ain't going to be no movement without no music. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be a bunch of facts, and people are going to be yawning, and you're going to get too afraid, and you're going to go home. But the music is going to be like a song line that takes you to the future. And so that's part of what I get to talk about. When I'm talking about the music, it's not just a bunch of notes and facts, man. This is a way of life, and people have acknowledged that.